Manchester United just handed Marcus Rashford something he hasn't worn in years, and it might be the clearest signal yet about what happens next. A few hours ago, this was confirmed. Not rumoured, confirmed. And according to Fabrizio Romano, it changes the entire conversation around Old Trafford's most talked about forward. But that's only the start, because while one story just resolved itself, two more are quietly building behind it. One involves a midfielder United's own owners are pushing for. The other, a boost nobody saw coming. This is Red Break. Let's get into it. Manchester United have reportedly given Marcus Rashford the number 14 shirt. On the surface, that's just a squad number, but numbers at this club have never just been numbers. And this one is being read as the clearest hint yet that Rashford will spend the 2026 to 27 season in red. Rewind to late 2024. Rashford seemingly played his final game for United. He said it himself. He wanted a new challenge, away from the theatre of dreams. Nobody argued with him. It looked over. Then came the loan spells, Aston Villa first, then Barcelona. And in Catalonia, something happened that United fans didn't expect to watch from a distance. 14 goals, 14 assists, 49 appearances across all competitions, a La Liga title. Here's where it gets interesting. Barcelona had the chance to make it permanent, a £26 million purchase option. They walked away from it. Not because Rashford underperformed, with 28 goal involvements last season, the numbers speak for themselves, but because the Blaugrana wanted younger legs on smaller wages out on the left. Adeyemi, Gordon, business decisions, not football ones. But that decision left Rashford's future in limbo. And that's when this story stopped being simple. Turkish giants Fenerbahce reportedly showed interest. Realistically, never happening. Rashford wants Champions League football. He wants to stay among Europe's elite. Forget Turkey, forget Saudi Arabia. That door was never really open. So where does that leave United? Rashford is in the final 2 years of his contract, and the club just went through a managerial change that reshaped everything. Ruben Amorim is gone. Michael Carrick is in. And that's important, because Amorim's rigid 3-4-2-1 never suited an out-and-out winger like Rashford. Carrick's system does. Carrick also knows Rashford personally. The two were briefly teammates during the twilight of Carrick's playing career. This isn't a stranger deciding Rashford's fate. This is somebody who's watched him up close. Romano's own reporting backs this up directly. Rashford is, in his words, more than happy to stay and fight for his career in red. And every single day, Carrick is pushing for exactly that solution. He wants Rashford, publicly, privately, consistently. But hold on, this isn't fully settled. Romano also says if a top European club comes in with an offer, the 28-year-old could still leave. So the door isn't locked, it's just no longer wide open. And that's only half the story, because not everyone inside Old Trafford agrees on what should happen. According to journalist Ty Marshall, as things stand, Rashford staying and playing this season is the most likely outcome. But, and this is the twist, sources close to the club still believe United would love to sell him if a £25 million bid landed. Meanwhile, people close to Rashford himself believe United don't actually want to sell at all. It's clear as mud. Two camps, two completely different readings of the same situation. And Marshall believes if anything does happen, it happens late in the window. Not now, not next week, late. So here's the real headline underneath the shirt number. Keeping Rashford rather than selling frees up transfer funds elsewhere. A central midfielder, a left back, a striker. United can chase all three because they're not banking on Rashford money to fund it. That's the decision that was always the obvious one, even if it didn't look that way 6 months ago. Rashford, for now, is staying. Number 14 on his back, Carrick fighting his corner. But the window's still open, and so is the door, just slightly. That's story one. Now here's where things shift completely. Because while Rashford's situation dominates headlines, United's co-owners are working on something else entirely. Something structural, something that could define next summer as much as this one. INEOS reportedly have active interest in Adam Wharton. Think about that phrase for a second. Not scouted, not monitored, active interest, and coming from the ownership level, not just the football department. When INEOS themselves are named in a report, that usually means this isn't a passing thought. Wharton has been one of the standout midfielders in the Premier League since his move to Crystal Palace. Composed on the ball, comfortable carrying it through pressure. Exactly the profile United have been missing in midfield for what feels like years. And remember what we just said about Rashford freeing up funds. This is where it connects. United know the squad is unbalanced heading into a season that includes Champions League football again. According to insider Stretford Paddock, there will be more activity from United before this window shuts. Left-back cover is one priority, but midfield reinforcement is right there alongside it. Here's the twist though. Crystal Palace won't make this easy. Wharton's not a squad player being offloaded. He's a first-team fixture, a player Palace have built around. If United genuinely go for him, expect resistance, expect a high valuation, and expect this to run deep into the window. But hold that thought, because Wharton isn't the only midfield name moving today. United have received a significant boost in their pursuit of Louis Page, and this one might surprise you more than the Wharton story does. Page, currently at Leicester City, is reportedly keen on a move to Old Trafford before the summer window closes. Keen. Not hesitant, not weighing options, keen. That word matters, because in transfer stories, player intent is often the difference between a deal dragging into deadline day chaos and a deal moving quickly once the clubs agree terms. If Page wants this, United's job just got considerably easier on one side of the equation. So now look at what's actually unfolding here. 3 separate midfield-adjacent stories, all moving on the same day. Wharton, ownership level interest, a genuine top target. Page, a player who reportedly wants United and could accelerate. And Rashford, a forward decision that indirectly funds all of it. None of these stories exist in isolation. That's the part casual fans miss. Here's the big picture. Carrick inherited a squad that finished last season unbalanced, thin in specific areas, and heading into a Champions League campaign that will punish those same weaknesses if they're not fixed. Keeping Rashford, rather than cashing in, gives Carrick more attacking depth and more financial flexibility elsewhere. That flexibility is exactly what's fueling genuine interest in players like Wharton and genuine optimism around players like Page. Every piece connects. A shirt number today can quietly shape a midfield rebuild tomorrow. That's how modern transfer windows actually work. Not through one giant signing, but through a dozen smaller decisions that all lean the same direction. And that's why, even with the window ticking down, nobody around Old Trafford is calling this quiet. Not even close. So here's what we're watching for. Does a top European club test United's resolve on Rashford before deadline day? Does Crystal Palace hold firm on Wharton, or does INEOS involvement change the calculation? And does Page's reported willingness turn into an actual approach from Leicester's side? Carrick has decisions to make. United have money to spend. And the next 48 hours could tell us more than the last 2 weeks combined. Should Rashford have been given a second chance at all? Would you rather United prioritise a midfielder like Wharton or lock down Page first? And with Champions League football returning, where does this squad still need the most work? Let us know. If you enjoyed today's update, don't forget to like, subscribe to Red Break and turn on notifications for more Manchester United news. Stay red.